And I'm Brian.
The team on Rochford Renovations. And we did our whole intro, and to be completely honest, we're kind of filming all of these videos way before we're even showing them to anyone aside from our parents, because we want to make sure everything is good to go with this whole house. And we, as we're like filming and talking and going through things, we thought we could need to back things up and talk a little bit about why we're doing this, what we're doing, how we're doing it, and what the overall process is going to look like. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, we mentioned in our first video, this will now be our third project that we've done. Definitely our biggest project, and we've learned a lot along the way on those other projects. So we wanted to use this as a way of documenting our journey with this Rochford renovation, but also to kind of explain how these things even happen, what the steps are, and we thought we'd use this video to kind of give an overview of where we're at up to this point in time.
A concise overview.
I'm not good at that.
We can both get wordy. Okay, so first thing, what are we doing, Brian?
Okay, so we live in a beautiful home right now, and we love it, we love it, we love it.
That's where we are right now.
About a year and a half, but we always knew this wasn't going to be our forever home, and we are a little bit addicted to real estate, so we're always looking.
Like pre-COVID, every weekend we would be going to multiple open houses. We know several realtors in our neighborhood. Every weekend I'm like, okay, Brian, are there new houses on the market?
Yeah.
And we play this game where he like tells me the specs, baths, beds, what street it's on, and then I guess what price the house is.
Literally plus or minus 10,000 almost every single time to the listing price.
Besides the point.
So this house, our house, came up in the market about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months at this point in time. And I was watching it, as I do when these houses come up on the market, but not a great time. We have a 4-month-old, it's COVID.
And it's a year before we were planning on even looking for this next project.
Right, so a little earlier than we thought we might start looking. And I knew it was gonna be a big project. So I didn't do anything. I just kept on scrolling through the other listings on Realtor.com. And I just watched it, right? And as those of you who are addicted to these online apps know, you always kind of go back to those houses that you've looked at before, and we like to follow when they go pending. We're like, oh my gosh, you know,
did the price drop? How much did it sell for?
How long did it take? All those things we're always watching. So I kept watching this house and nothing was happening. So I talked to Tara about it, which is always a scary first step, because she always knows as soon as I start talking about a house, she's like, oh gosh, here we go again. And I called our realtor, who ironically had been to the house twice the week before.
With other clients.
And said, Brian, I think this house will be perfect for you and Tara. So I was like, oh.
Disclaimer, we've already talked to her about our goals, big picture, so she knew what we were looking for.
Yes, exactly. So we're like, all right, well, we can't hurt to go look at it at least, right?
I'm dying to get out of the house because I've been very strict with quarantine and we have a little baby, and so I'm like, you know what, this sounds safe. We'll wear a face mask, we're only gonna be with one other person. Sign me up. I'll do anything.
Which for us, just going to look at a house is like just visiting a puppy and thinking you're gonna go home without the puppy. It's kind of the same idea.
Right.
So in the back of our heads, we're like, oh gosh, here we go again. So we go visit the house, and it was better than what the pictures even looked like. It also needed more work than what the pictures even looked like.
Right, so much detail, so much character. We're so excited about everything about this house, but it's definitely gonna take a lot to really bring this house back to like its glory days.
But what Tara and I have learned through our last 2 projects is we like things a very certain way. And what we don't want to do is pay a premium price for a home that's already been renovated. We love old homes, so we would always want an old home, to then have it not be done the way we want it and then put more money into changing it.
Right.
So getting a house in this state was exactly what we wanted, but it's a big, big project, and that's just a little intimidating.
And not just big financially, but time commitment wise, also mental space. Right. So those are things that you just kind of have to factor in when you're considering doing something like this, even if you're not the ones picking up the hammers.
Right. So through our first 2 projects, we learned a lot about working with contractors, and the good and especially the bad. And so we knew right away if we were going to do this project, it was really important that we work with a really amazing team. And we've been doing research since our last project.
Talking to people, which is a huge, if you get a personal recommendation, I feel like that's like the gold standard, right? But just looking on like neighborhood Facebook groups, signs in the yards of our neighborhood, because again, we live in a very mature neighborhood in the city and homes are always getting work done. So there's like signs everywhere.
Yeah. So we already kind of knew a couple of teams we might have wanted to work with. We also knew that Tara and I wanted to be really hands-on, so we needed a team.
Hands-on with like making the decisions, not demo.
There will be no demo day here. So we knew kind of the goals that we had with the potential team we were going to work with. So we brought 2 different teams to the house with us and did a walkthrough with them, and said, here's some of the things we would like to do. What are your thoughts? How could this work with your company? And what's a ballpark price point that this would take? We did that with 2 different companies.
Yeah.
Both were great for different reasons.
We could have a successful end product with either business.
Both gave very similar price points of what it would take to bring the home to where we want it to be, which was comforting for us. We weren't getting a really low price over here and a really high price over here. They were very similar. We ended up going with a company that offers a lot of different things in-house. So they have their architects and their designers and a lot of those different services they offer in-house.
They just manage everything.
They do. And something that Tara and I wanted from a company was that. In our last couple of projects, when there's too many people all over, they don't always have the best communication and things get dropped or missed or whatever. And so we really loved that about this company.
Yeah.
They were also just on top of their game.
They had excellent communication.
Yes.
I mean, the little things that are important to us, they followed up before the meeting to confirm the meeting time. They were early to the meeting, like 5 to 10 minutes early, which Brian and I are early people. They listened to us, and since we've met with them, they've like brought up little details that I've mentioned, like, oh, I want my kitchen window to overlook the backyard. Like they have repeated that wish. And previously, like companies, I feel like they've just had their own ideas on what they want to do, and they just think maybe we don't know what we're talking about and don't know what we want. But this company that we've chosen, they're listening to us.
When I had my first conversation with them, I kind of rattled off some ideas, and following that conversation, I got an email with a PDF of all of the notes that they had taken about our conversation and said, just as an aside, we listed a couple of local references if you wanted to reach out to some people. And it was 7 pages of neighbors, people in the Minneapolis area who work with this company, their contact information so we could reach out to them. So it was just really above and beyond what we had experienced personally, and just exactly what we were looking for.
So if you're having contractor issues, if you're going through the renovation process, know that there are companies out there that exist that will take care of you, communicate, and just do the things that you feel like need to be done.
So from there, we're like, okay, we decided if the price is right, we want to move forward. And the price being right was really important because we knew it was going to take a lot of money to bring this house to where we need it to be. And what we weren't willing on doing is overspending on this house, right? So when you purchase the house and you're going to renovate it, at the end of the day, you have an entire amount that has gone into that house. And if God forbid something happened, you needed to sell that house right away, you want to make sure that you can get at least what you put into the house for that home. Right.
And this is true for even if you're just doing small upkeep on the house. You don't really want to put more into the house than what it's worth.
Which is relevant for the house we're in right now. It's done, but we've been very mindful of not putting any more money into this house as we knew any more money we put into wouldn't be a good return. So that's what we're looking at with the new house. We had some back and forth with the seller, which was a bit of a unique situation we won't get into, but it ended up that we came upon a price that worked for both parties, and we were really, really pleased with how that went. And actually, I think both parties seemed really happy.
Yeah.
Doesn't always happen that way, but we felt, okay, this is another sign that this is
the direction we're supposed to be moving.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We have not closed on the house yet, which is partially why we're not really releasing all this. For any of you who purchase homes in the 12th hour, things can always go wrong. So until we have closed on the home, we're probably not going to really release this stuff.
Only to our parents.
Exactly. But it's looking really good.
Probably the only people going to watch it anyways.
Exactly. The sellers have been great, and we're feeling really good. So we're right now in the process of checking certain things off the list to make sure that, again, we've just dotted our I's, crossed our T's. The inspection happened.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple little follow-ups were happening from the inspection. We had a little thing with a chimney we have to check out, a plumbing thing. These old houses always have plumbing
Yep.
things, so they were just scoping the plumbing.
We're just double checking on those things.
Yeah, and we're prepping for the design process.
Yes.
So from this point, especially once we get the inspection signed off and we know, okay, we're closing on this house, it's going to be our house, we will begin the design process with this company. The company that we picked that is design build everything in-house, how it'll work is we'll meet with them again. They'll do very detailed measurements of the the whole house.
Yep.
And the first step will be floor plan. We'll go over floor plan.
They'll create a rendering of the existing floor plan.
And then we ideally are going to be doing a bit of a bump out in certain areas, moving a couple walls around. Most of the house we're maintaining how it is, but there are some changes that are happening. So we want to get a feel for that via these 3D renderings of how the flow will be.
So they'll create the existing floor plan, then they'll create the ideal floor plan.
Exactly.
So that we can make sure this is what we want it to live like.
Right. If adding a wall here, how does that affect this, et cetera, et cetera. Then they'll go in and get more specific about the,
Light
design
fixtures,
stuff, light fixtures,
cabinets,
appliances,
wall
all
color,
of that
whatever.
stuff, all of that stuff, which will be really exciting for us and a really fun part. And we've never had a team like this. It's always just, this is the team. So it'll be fun to work with. When we were interviewing companies, that part of the design and making sure that we could still be driving the ship, that was really important to us. Tara especially really loves that part of this whole thing. And while she appreciated having a design team to work with her, she didn't want to just give the design over to somebody else.
Right.
So it'll still be Tara's design, but it'll be awesome because we have these professionals that'll help us elevate that.
I can bounce ideas off of other people's brains, and yeah, it'll be good.
So just so any of you know how the financing of this works, for us specifically, we are getting the construction of this project financed with the bank and bundled together with our mortgage. It's called a construction loan. You can do this in a lot of different ways, but this is how we're doing it.
We're specifically working with a local bank because we can literally go to the bank down the street and work with them, talk to them, have a relationship with them to work on some nuances that might be unique to our situation versus working with a national bank, which we've done in the past. And it's harder to get a hold of people.
Yeah.
You call the 1-800 number and then you talk to a different person every time. And we didn't feel as taken care of as what we want.
Right. So we really loved working with this local bank thus far. How it will work then is once we have all the design nailed down and a number put on that design. So doing this design, this bump out and these walls and blah, blah, blah is going to cost X. We will then present that to the bank. The bank's appraiser will look over those plans and say, okay, the house was purchased for X. You're going to put Y into it via the renovation. Add those two numbers together, and will the finished product appraise for at least that number?
X plus Y.
X plus Y. Assuming the answer is yes, which we'll be very diligent to make sure that the answer is yes, then we'll get the financing through the bank to do, again, not only the purchase of the house, but the construction. It will all get bundled up into one mortgage payment.
Right.
I never knew that was an option, I guess. With our last two projects, they're a lot smaller. Well, not the last one, but the 2 times ago. So
we saved up and we just paid for
cash,
it.
Right? And I always wondered, are these people just paying cash for all these huge
home
projects?
renovations? Maybe some people are, but we're not able to do that right now.
Right. So this is how we're able to do a project like this, is that it's all being bundled up
into the mortgage.
In the mortgage, yeah. So that seems like a little nuanced thing, but if any of you are wanting to do a project like this and you might not have known, we didn't know.
Yeah.
Now you know that's one option. So yeah, that's kind of what will happen next. We'll cross our fingers that we do the design, we get a number, a budget for the design that works for us, and then the appraiser says, yep, you're good to go, and that's when construction will start. We don't plan on that being for a while. We don't close in the house for another month.
And we're not in any rush. We plan on living in our current house until this new house is done. So we really have any time we need.
Yeah. So it's so different than our last experiences. We're get this panic, we have to know all the details now, but we're trying to remind each other that we don't. and we want to enjoy this
We're going to
process.
enjoy the whole process, and we're going to share it with you.
Yeah, so this will be a fun thing just for us. If you guys like it, I hope you enjoy it too. And we are excited to have you follow along with this next Rochford renovation.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys.